All right, welcome back, Zandvoort with a chicane, an unpleasant chicane. If you are new to the track or the channel, this was in last season. The setup is pretty much the same, but I'll go through it for those who are new. Um, Watch out as well in races past where the configuration of the track has changed. I've been in races where people did not know it was a different configuration, so you may see some people blowing through this chicane, not because they messed up, but because they didn't realize it was there. So a little caution there. So ride height is -15, not as low as it goes. There are a few curbs here to go over, and I find this just keeps it a little more steady. ARB is 0. We don't want that understeer. Damper compression is 20. Brake bias 59% for me. For you, it's something else, but you might want it a little bit higher than what you normally run. There's a lot of downhill braking, some off camber sort of braking, and I find it's pretty easy to lock up here, especially on cold tires. So maybe a percent or two higher than what you normally run. Spring rates 22, soft as they go in the front and in the rear. Camber, this is where there's a little change from the old setup, 1.4 instead of 1.3. Little bit more grip. With that chicane, it is one tight corner, so you do need a little bit more grip through that. Toe in 1.4. Again, lots turn in for this track, and that just improves braking efficiency. Soft as they go in the rear, 35. And again, camber's turned up in the rear, 1.1 instead of 1. If you like the car a little bit more tail happy, you may want to try 1. The old setup is good if you have it saved. It is good. I found this just a smidge faster though. Toe in is 0.4, again just to improve braking efficiency and get the tire temps up a little bit. And in the bottom half here, so ride height -14, 1 mil higher than the front, just to make the rake good. ARB is 20, that is high. If you are struggling, if you're new to the track and you're spinning out way too easy, try a 15. That will make the back end more compliant. However, to go around here fast, I do think you need the 20 ARB just to get the rotation in the car through some of those corners. Damper compression is 6 and 18. Fuel level is 14. 13 is not going to do it, not even close. 15, if you are really heavy on fuel usage, might actually be something you might want to try, but 14 should get you to the end. Tall gear stack. Now that is a little bit tricky. You do reach the rev limit just before the braking zone in the start-finish straight, but I do find the gearing and going through the corners works much better with tall. It's much more comfortable, and you will get better acceleration versus a very tall stack out of the corners. So that's what I'm going with, but do be aware you do reach the rev limit just before the braking point. So track is 19 degrees, so it'll be in and around that 19-21 degree for the week. 45% usage, so not the grippiest. So we'll go through these corners in slow-mo. Oh, I got the wrong lap there, alright. And then run it out at full speed. So in real time it looks like I'm braking between the 100 and the 50 board, but in slow-mo it's a little closer to the 100 board. Pretty hard in the brakes from fourth gear down into second. You come in here hotter than you think. The camber and the angle of the track here is going to actually help slow the car down. Just really be careful, especially on cold tires. This is a very easy corner to lock up, so just watch out for that. And the turn, the apex, it's a really late apex, so don't turn in too early. You will compromise on exit. So just releasing the brakes, and as the barrier on the right here gets down, shrinks down, that's really when you're turning in tight and starting to look to pick up the throttle. Cold tires, again, just a little easier on exit. It is easy to slide out wide, get onto the sand for the first lap or two. up into third and looking for when the curb goes to the left, you go to the right. And just a little dab of brakes, shifting down into second gear. You don't want to come in too hot here and go way too wide, because you do have to get over to the right. And getting on this curb just a little bit, just to cut the corner a bit, and picking up some throttle. It is a little bit of a stretch here till the next turn, so yeah, it's important to pick up the throttle. And then just a dab of brakes in second gear. If you come in here too hot, especially cool tires, this is quite cambered. However, you can spin out here pretty easy, especially when the tires are cold. So it just takes some practice to know how much speed you can carry into this corner, keeping it up high and picking up the throttle nice and early, because it is a bit of a straight coming up here, and then just using all of the curb on exit. However, do watch out again on cold tires. You can spin the tires up here when you're on full throttle, so you won't crash, but you can spin them up, so just look out for that. And the fun part, the chicane. So just before the start of the curb, in third gear, holding it in third gear, you may shift up into fourth in a race if you're drafting. So just be aware of that. You might have to brake a little harder, just a little earlier. But about a car length before, shifting down into second, just get onto this curb here a little bit. And this is going to be very hard when there's a car in front of you, but you're looking down into first gear, still on the brakes. You're looking for this little section of grass. You can put a tire on this. It is not going to give you next, but you don't want to put a lot of tire on there. And it's going to be hard to sight with a car in front of you. Just releasing the brakes, picking up a little bit of throttle, and this is very nasty. I think you couldn't get any closer than I did here. If you graze the grass here with your left tire, you're okay, but if you put a full tire on the grass, you get an X, and in a race, it's not going to matter too much, but in quali, that's obviously a ruined lap. And just keeping on some throttle there, and then picking it up once you start to straighten the wheel, and getting over to the right-hand edge, but again, don't get on that grass, it's an X. And in third gear, looking for the end of the pavement here, just before the end of the pavement, turning in, and once you start getting downhill there, just a little bit of a lift, just to keep the car from sliding wide. You don't want to come in here wide, because it's going to cost you on exit a lot of speed. And then once you get to the curbs, picking up the throttle again, full power, and then just letting the car run out to the left. Again, cold tires, you got to watch a little bit, so you could slide and catch that gravel. So again, in third gear, maybe fourth gear if you're drafting off somebody. But there's a kink in the track here, and basically that's where you're going to be turning in. Just a bit of brake, just to load up the front end, and then picking up the throttle before the apex here. Getting on this sausage curb, I find, is not good. It probably won't crash you out, but I don't find it faster. It disrupts the car too much. So just getting on the red and white curb and letting the car unwind out to the right hand side. Now, depending on your field of view, what you're using, monitors, VR, all that stuff, I'm looking for the radio tower here on the right. Once you get up along beside it, getting onto the brakes and shifting down into second. So where that is for you, that might be a little different. Pretty good blast of brakes, but then releasing the brakes, letting the car roll in. And the curb, is it faster or not? I'm not sure. I was on the curb for this one. And then just picking up the throttle as you pass the curbs. Nice and early, unwinding the wheel. You don't necessarily want to go all the way to the edge of the track, because you do have to work yourself over to the right hand side, but if you're trying to go defensive into the next one, you may want to be out there. And then looking for this outhouse in second gear, a good blast of brakes, well, light on the brakes, actually, that's right. You don't want to brake too hard into this corner. This corner is surprisingly easy to spin out on. It's it's slick, so watch out. Not a lot of brakes, and then picking up the throttle. You do not want to be on the brakes when you turn the wheel here. Again, very easy to spin out, and then just picking up the throttle as you get towards these curbs. Again, getting on the curbs for this one, I find is a problem. That may cause you to spin out a bit, so just watch out. This is a slick corner, and unwinding the wheel. This one you can't use all of the track on exit. You're a little ways before having to get to the left-hand side. And looking just before the curb here, getting on the brakes in fourth gear, shifting down into second, and then turning in at the end of the curbs. You can get on the sausage curb here if you do it right. I find it's quicker, but if you do it wrong, you're in big trouble. So it's up to you. You can just graze the edge of the curbs here. You're not going to lose too much time, but I find it is quicker to go over the sausage curb here. And once you're over, just picking up the throttle a little bit just to steady the car, shifting down into first gear once you got the wheel straight. You can leave it in second, however, I do find it is consistently better shifting down into first. Don't go into the sand there, that is an X. You can graze it, but if you put a full tire in there, it is an X. And then shifting up into second as you exit that corner, and you can use all of the curb here on exit. Just unwind the wheel. So up into third, not a great marker here. A few car lengths. I use the curb up in front here, but there's a weird fence post thing here you could use. Just a touch of brake just to load up the front end a little better. Get the car turned in. This one, yeah, you do want to get on the curb to this one, cut the corner a bit, picking up the throttle nice and early. You can come into this corner hotter, but you are going to be slower on exit, and this is full throttle until turn one, so it's really important for your quality lap and just for going fast, come in slow, exit hot, and by the end of the straight, it's going to save you some time. And just unwinding the wheel, just trying to minimize the wheel inputs through there so you're not scrubbing any speed. And it's 47.1. I think that will be a competitive time. Probably the really top guys will probably be into the 46s, especially if there's a draft. But I think that should definitely give you a good shot at a good finish. So we'll run this out at full speed. Good luck. This can be a very hard track to pass. It can be a lot of crashes, but it can also be a really great race. We'll see you next time.